Yeah. Mad.
Well, welcome everyone to Words of Rizdom, episode 9 for the podcast. Today, I'm joined by the infamous Mr. RTD, Krishna Sharma.
Thank you for having me, bro. I'm excited to be here.
Of course, it's been a long time coming. I know
Yes.
we spoke about this months ago.
Yeah, years ago, actually. It's been more than a year since we last spoke about it.
Yeah, to be fair, yeah, it was. I remember you kept saying that we need to do a podcast,
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, I always thought, you need to have something set up like this at home.
Exactly. Yeah, same.
Which, obviously, living in London and just generally isn't easy to do.
Yeah.
And thankfully, that podcast I did with Albert, I learned that you can hire spaces like this.
Yeah.
And,
I've literally been waiting on the same thing. I thought I had to get a whole set up, mics and cameras and stuff. But yeah, this is great.
That's it. And, I'm really enjoying this, that we're, face to face and can have this sort of conversation. And, it's, to start with, just sort of introduce yourself and kind of, your journey trading wise and more just, kind of life wise as well.
Yeah.
As well, just so that people know who you are. People already know who you are, to be fair,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, a little introduction. Okay, so so my name's Krishna, of course. I am currently 20 years old. I've started trading I started taking it seriously around the first lockdown, which was in 2020, March. The reason I got into trading is very simple. Obviously, just wanted to make money. The first time I was introduced to trading was, I think, a year or something before that, when I was in school. I was just leaving school. Actually, yeah, like in the last couple of years of high school. And I saw one of my friends in a science lesson, and they were just like on their phone, and I just saw blue numbers, and I thought, what's going on? And it's like, yeah, I've made, I'm just making money. And his older brother did something in Canary Wharf for like some trading or something. So I thought, this is great.
Was that the start of like an IML, like?
You know what? It could have been.
Apartment.
It could have been. Do you know what? I've had my fair share of like almost being recruited to IML. I remember my music teacher. I don't know if he's watching this. My music teacher, he left our school, and then once he left, he like tried to recruit me. He got me on a Zoom call and everything, and it was a bit dodgy, but he tried to recruit me to IML. I instantly clocked it. I was like, no, I'm not trying to do that. I want to learn. I kept asking him. I was like, right, how do you actually then, like, what do you do? How do you trade? Like, show me the chart. He's like, yeah, you'll learn. It's like harmonic patterns. I was like, no, I don't want to do this. But yeah, so when I saw that, that it's a possibility, instantly I was attracted to it, that you can just make money from your phone. And obviously at the time I was very young, so I don't remember age-wise, but I'd probably be around 16, 17. So at the time, when I saw that and when I was attracted to that, I was more so attracted to very, very minor things. At the time were very major, something like, I don't know, extra pocket money or being able to, I don't know, buy more snacks after school on my walk home. You know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
So things like that. And then slowly, that vision, because ultimately that was my vision at the time, that vision with time grew. So after like a year or two, when I actually started to, I bought my first book on Amazon, the big yellow one called Trading for Dummies. I bought that. I never really fully read that, to be honest. I read like maybe a chapter or two, and I realized it was bullshit. So I was just like, I'm gonna forget this. But then my vision grew. So, from snacks after school to, I was like, okay, I had a car at the time and I need to get serviced. I was like, oh my God, like money for service is so much, it's so expensive. One day I'll be able to trade and afford to service my car. Vision grew that ways. Then me and my mum would just be talking, the house needs new windows, new double glazing. I'm like, Mum, don't worry. One day, trading money will pay for double glazing, for example. And so the vision grew. And day by day, it kept growing. So luckily, I don't know if it's probably something I was born with, to be honest, but I had a very limitless mindset to the point where I was never, it can be a bit of a curse as well, because I'm never fully satisfied. But because of that also, I had a very limitless vision. It's not that I wanted to just stop at after school snacks. I didn't just want to stop at, service for the car or double glazing. I wanted to, what's next? And so because of that, I was lucky in the sense that, it kept me able to establish opportunity to grow. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's not just I achieve one thing and I stop. I was always looking for the next thing. So then, through that, establishment of opportunity, I came in contact with you through whatever we had to go through to get in contact with each other, right? And then from there as well, like, with all of that whole episode, that whole experience, I never really see it as a negative. Because ultimately when I was going into that, I wasn't going into it, paying for a course or paying for anything other than an opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, and the opportunity paid off because look where we are now.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, that's just how I got into trading, and even now, it's just limitless. Like for example, the whole road to Dubai and the RTD thing, it's crazy because you know the people come up to me now and they're like, oh, like you did it, it's done. And in my mind, I'm like, no, it's nowhere near done. It's not done at all. You know, because well, first of all, how did road to Dubai actually come about? So it was about November 2020, I believe, and I was making myself a Telegram channel just as a journal, just a very personal one. I remember you were the only person I had on there.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about what I wanted to call it. I didn't just want to call it Krishna's Trades or just something basic. And I was just sat there. And then instantly, with no, like, it just came to me, just road to Dubai, because, you know, that's the road I'm on. But at the time, Dubai didn't just symbolize the city, right? Dubai symbolized that same limitless mindset, that luxurious, that, you know, just the excess of just anything you want.
Above.
That exactly, just that level above, that no ceiling, right? That's what that represented. And so I called it Road to Dubai. Now, at the time, I didn't really have an obsession with Dubai. I still don't really have an obsession with the actual city Dubai. It's what it represents. So even now when people say, oh, you know, you made it, you done it, Road to Dubai is complete, you're going to have to come up with something new. I'm like, no, because Dubai, the word Dubai in that sentence doesn't actually represent the city. It represents a lot more, which you can never actually accomplish, right?
It's very true. Like, you know, when it comes to Dubai, for example, and we'll come back to some other stuff as well, but like when it comes to Dubai, you know, that was a big thing for us, for me and Cal. Like, we knew straight away, like, we'll bring in, you know, Josh and Dan out to do the filming. We'll bring in out, you know, we got Louis out, we got Marco out, but we had Kieran coming out as well. But we knew 100% before all of them, you had to come. You know what I mean? Like, we had to bring you out.
Honestly.
No, like, not only are you one of the mentors on the team, because of that road to Dubai, like, me and Cal know 100% what it's like to have a vision, you know, and have a dream, have an aspiration, and to know, like, to achieve that, you need to experience something.
Yeah.
You know, you need to experience what that's like, what that means, what that represents, because it only reaffirms, or sometimes, funnily enough, it can cancel out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, Road to Dubai could have changed if you went to Dubai and you didn't like it, for example, or it wasn't what it seemed. It could be Road to LA, Road to Miami, whatever. But that's why we knew 100%, regardless of anything else, we had to bring you out, you know, because it represented everything that you had built and the vision that you had. We knew that we had to bring you out so you could experience that and not only experience it just generally, but experience it at a high level. You know,
100%.
Experience it with such an enormous event. And by the time this comes out, the vlog will be out, so people will know what we're talking about in terms of everything that happened and went down.
Yeah.
So no, you 100% agree. Like, and I really love what you mentioned in terms of limitless mindset and not being satisfied. Like, that's something I had to realize though, and this is why we brought you on board in the first place. A lot of people would have heard at the start that you're 20 years old, for example, and they'll think like, oh, 20 years old. Some people who are older, for example, might be, oh, he's 20 years old. You know, what does he know, for example, right? While other people who are 20 or younger or around that sort of age will be like, wow, I can achieve these things. So it's interesting how you can have these two different perceptions, right?
100%.
Just based on age.
Yeah.
There will be people who look up to you, right? Because of what you've achieved and the level of intellect that you have and the vision that you have at this age. While there'll be people who are older who will think and may have this perception of, you know, what will this guy know? He's only 20 years old. But the whole reason you're part of our team, and, you know, Cal can testify to this, and, you know, no doubt we'll have probably an episode together. But, you know, when me and Cal started the Viper group, we knew straight away that number one was Krishna is going to be part of this group. You know, if he wants to be, of course, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
Only if I just like no.
Exactly. That would have been heartbreaking. But, you know, number one was Krishna's going to be part of the team, and the reason for that was we understand that the next generation, right? In terms of next generation, obviously we're only about 6-7 years apart, but that is the next generation, right? And we could see in terms of your generation, you were levels ahead. Your mindset was very similar to ours already, which only means that you're going to be the future leader in terms, whether it's the Viper group or whatever, you're going to be a future leader due to your mindset. and that's not by accident. You know what I mean? Like some people put it down to luck or down to just random. You know, it's random. But no, like you had a vision, you had a clear plan, and more importantly, we're going to come to this now. Is, you know, what gave you that mindset? You know, what gave you that limitless mindset, that mindset of having a vision? Because most people your age are just focused on now.
Yeah, exactly,
you know?
exactly.
Or focused, more importantly, a lot of them are focused in what's the past. You know what I mean? Like, you know, this breakup, or school sucked, or
ridiculous.
I got bullied here. And while instead, you know, what was your journey like to provide that mindset? You know, and I'm sure my guess would be that it wasn't easy.
Of course not. So, you know, I feel like every single person, there's a possibility to go either way. I could have even now I could very easily be the person who's just stuck in the past. You know, all this has happened and because of this, blah blah blah. But for some reason, and I think it is something that you can definitely train it, but it at the very core, I feel like it is something you either have or you don't. In that sense, where I always just had I just had this feeling that, you know, whatever's happened, I'm going to use that to grow out of the situation I'm in, or I'm going to use that as fuel or motivation. You know, it was never I'm going to use it as an excuse. So to actually go back and start from the beginning, when I was a kid, to be honest, I remember every shop I'd walk into. I remember I was in India with my dad and we were going to go buy a cricket bat or whatever it might be. And I didn't really play cricket. I didn't need the best cricket bat in the world or anything. It was literally just, you know, for just whatever. But I walked into a shop and naturally my eyes only would ever go towards the best. I always just wanted the best. I wanted to be the best. I wanted to, I don't know, to the smallest thing, I wanted to look the best. I wanted to smell the best. I just wanted to be the best. I was very, very obsessed with being the best. But the area in which people might get confused is I didn't want to be better than everyone else. I just wanted to be the best that I could be. You know?
Big difference.
It's a very, very big difference, because all of a sudden, you know, if it was a situation where I just wanted to be better than everyone else, then I'm very, very limited by my surroundings. You know, but if I just want to be the best I can be, you can put me anywhere and I will still end up being the best that I can be. You know, and that was a very big thing because of that thing.
Why do you think you felt that way? Do you know? Or do you think it was
just
kind of natural?
So for me, it would definitely be very natural. It was never a situation where I wasn't like that, then something happened and then I was like that. As far as I can remember, I've always been this way. But if I had to put it down to something, when I was a kid, my parents and my teachers, the one thing that they said to me the most is that this kid's got potential. So maybe somewhere that sort of sunk in, and I knew in the back of my mind that I've got the potential. I wanted to tap into it. Yeah. Exactly. And maybe, you know, the people who went the other way and are stuck in the past and don't have that, maybe they were never told that, or maybe they were never given that sort of reassurance, or whatever it might be. I don't know. That's just one of the things that it could be down to. But yeah, that's always something I wanted to tap into, something I knew I had, you know, because elders have told me or people I've respected told me. So it could be down to that, but what was I saying? I forgot.
Just random.
On a tangent, yeah.
No, in terms of the cricket bat, you know, wanted
yes,
the best.
I just wanted to, always wanted to be the best that I could possibly be, which is why then, even now, where, you know, I look back to maybe where I was even 2 years ago. If the person 2 years ago saw where I am now, they would be happy in that sense. But you know what I'm trying to say? As I've grown in those 2 years, I want even more, because, you know I can be even better.
It's kind of like
even better.
You owe yourself.
Yes,
you know?
100%.
So like what you don't want to do is be 1 year from now and be like angry at yourself.
Yes.
It's kind of like stepping back. You know what I mean? Like reading your own story. You know, and it's kind of like something like Joe Rogan says in terms of like you be the hero of your own story.
Yeah.
You know, like some people will take circumstance or what they've gone through and use that as an excuse, you know, and use that as something like, oh, this happened to me. When realizing that you write your story, you know, so like you're either your villain or your hero, right? So if you're your villain, you're probably living in the past, you're probably using excuses and blame. But if you're your hero, you're taking action. You know, you're moving forward.
100%.
And I couldn't agree more. Like it's a very powerful mindset to have, and to sort of understand that, you know, you owe it to yourself, because that's where it really boils down to. You know, when we talk about trading, we talk about, you know, how important it is to, you know, understand your tendencies. You know?
100%.
In the end, with anything in life, it all boils down to yourself. You know, it all boils down to, you know, your mindset, what drive you have, what vision you have, what work ethic you have. And I think a lot of people, it's not that they don't realize that. It's like you kind of, some people have that mindset, not naturally, but like they kind of maybe get it instilled in them, or they have certain circumstances where it kind of builds in them. Because I was very similar as well. Like I always had a vision, you know, even when I was a teenager, similar to yourself, I had a vision, you know, and it was quite similar. Now that you're saying it, I kind of think back and I realized that I wanted to be the best. And sometimes I wasn't the best, which was fine. But
That's the thing, though. You knew that. It's self-awareness is the key.
Yeah.
Self-awareness is what people are missing. Like, because I have people that are very close to me that, you know, I know aren't where they would be or could be if they just had the self-awareness to sit down and understand that, okay, I'm doing this, it's not good, and I need to change it, you know? Instead, they just accept the fact that, oh, this is just who I am, or this is just how it is, you know? And that's one thing that, luckily, I always had, is that, you know, when everything, so say for example, I'm going through a period of time where I am just, you know, drowning in self-pity, or I am just, you know, making myself a victim of the past or even my own decisions. I had the self-awareness, you know, it might not have been instantly, but within a day, a week, even a month, sometimes even a year. But at some point I had that moment where I understood that, you know, that self-acceptance that, you know, I am actually just, you know, victimizing myself. You know, I'm living in a victim mentality, for example. You know, it could be a bunch of other things that I could be doing wrong, but it came to a point where I had that awareness, and then once I accepted that mistake or that flaw, I wanted to build on becoming better, because again, wanted to be the best I could be. I couldn't do that if I didn't work on my flaws, and a lot of people don't have that. I feel like a lot of people are scared of just you know, owning up to their own mistakes, you know, and it gets to a point where, you know, if you try to tell them, then, you know, who are you to tell me you don't know what I've been through, type of thing. But even if you know, it is just for their best interest, that's why it has to come from within. And that's why a lot of people might never get to tap into their full potential, because they never allow themselves the opportunity to recognize their own mistakes.
Well, it's very, very true. Like, I've had experiences, as you can imagine, with like mentorship in terms of explaining to people, you know, that they need to understand themselves. Now, understanding yourself is like, it's a choice. And I think what you touched on there in terms of self-awareness is a big thing. Like, you know, how aware are people? Like, some people I think may have had an opportunity growing up to have the right instincts or even the right environment to sort of be more aware of yourself, or to be taught to be more aware of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's very easy. Like, I remember growing up thinking that everyone was the same. And what I mean by that is, like, everyone sort of grew up with the same principles, the same, you know, mindset, same intention. And then as I got older, and I'm sure it's probably similar for a lot of people, is that as I got older, I realized that, you know, those intentions and that mindset isn't really the same for everyone. You know, I thought everyone wanted to be the best. Everyone wanted to be successful, you know, especially. And I realized that it's not the case. You know, a lot of people, they don't have that in mind. You know, they're really going for the 9 to 5, and they're really going for, you know, the average life. And sometimes that's okay as well, because we have to remember, if we're entrepreneurs and we have, you know, we're business owners, that you kind of need people with that mindset of having the average life to be able to run a business.
Of course, yeah.
But there are many people who aren't happy. And I think, you know, Gary Vee talks about this a lot in terms of, like, if you're happy, you know, if you're content and happy with 9 to 5 or whatever the average it looks like, if you're happy with that, that's fine. There's no problem with that. Right? Because you're happy. That's what's important.
That's the goal.
Exactly. That's the goal. You're happy, right? But there are a lot of people who aren't happy, right? And they're not content. And it's usually down to the fact that they're not doing what they love, right? And they're not happy with the average, but they don't know how to get over that barrier. Right? And I think a lot of it does come down to that self-awareness and sort of self-understanding. And it's something like I like to call, and you probably heard me say this before in terms of like trading, self-analysis, you know? And, you know, I've probably been guilty in the past of thinking like it's easy. You know, anyone can do self-analysis and be aware of yourself. But, you know, when I really think about it, and I'm really talking about, you know, when you said you've got friends as well who, you know, struggle with that. You know, when I really think about it, and I think about my past as well in terms of like people I've been around, it's very true. Like, a lot of people just don't know what they don't know, right? And they haven't had the experience. They haven't had the right knowledge or upbringing or environment to have that moment.
Yeah.
And what I realize is when you look at the statistic of successful people, the majority of successful people are in their, in statistics terms, it might have changed by now because of social media and just the way that the world is going. But the majority of successful people hit success in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm struggling to say success. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I feel like I'm struggling to say it, but yeah, like in their 40s and 50s. So those who do hit it in their 20s or even 30s, it is early, but it's not impossible.
No, not at all. I think, going back to what we were saying in terms of self-awareness, and a lot of people are not happy, but they don't know how to overcome that. I think one thing that goes hand in hand with that is the comfort zone. Because a lot of people are in their comfort zone and they're scared to step out of that, because even though they might not be happy where they are, to some extent they have a comfort. They have a comfort of a job, for example. They have a comfort of uni and a grad job, and they have the comfort of doing what the mainstream is. So, if everyone else is doing it, everyone else isn't happy. So it's okay if I'm doing it, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
It's that comfort zone. And I think that really is the enemy, because if you're scared to step out of your comfort zone, you literally are not going to grow. It's like, by definition, I feel stupid even saying it because it's so obvious, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not going to do anything different, or if you're not going to do anything that's pushing the boundaries, you are not going to get anywhere other than where you are now in terms of anything, success, happiness, whatever it might be. And yeah, that's another thing that I personally realize as well, is that if I want to be different, I have to do things different.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, that's an interesting thing. Like, you grew up in London, yeah? I grew up in Nottingham, and so did Cal. And the interesting thing is that, I don't know about yourself, I feel like from obviously talking with you and knowing where you grew up, it might be a little bit different. But in terms of where I grew up in West Bridgewood, in Nottingham, which is known as like a affluent area. And I wasn't born there, but by the time I was like influential, like 5 years old and stuff, I was in West Bridgewood. So anything before that really wasn't in my environment to like take in.
Yeah.
Right. So in West Bridgewood, like, there's not much crime. There's not much, there aren't many betting shops, for example. There aren't much, what would you call it? Like, street stuff going on the surface at the very least.
Yeah.
Wow. If we compare it to others in the area, in Nottingham, like people from Nottingham will know these areas like Stenton or St. Anne's or Clifton, for example. These areas, the successful people from those areas that are readily available to sort of view and perceive are drug dealers, for example, right? So it's very interesting in terms of your environment. Now, I didn't grow up in those areas.
Yeah.
However, I don't know why, but for some reason, growing up, it might be because I wanted like male friends, right? Especially Asian male friends. Because I lost my father when I was a kid, I think there was some sort of like, when I sort of internalized and trying to understand why, I think I was on the search for Asian male friends, like that male sort of validation.
Yeah.
And so I kept seeking out friends, and it just so happened that they were in these areas, right? And that might be down to something as well, in terms of economics and sort of the race thing. But, what I learned was that these individuals, they kept seeping into and thinking of money terms, like in terms of drugs dealing or in terms of like fraud or these sort of things, but they wouldn't think of it in that way. They would just think of it as hustle, right? Grind. And the interesting thing is, like, the ones who were successful at it would be, doing very well. They still had a very entrepreneurial mindset. They did it very smartly, etc. While there were obviously the ones who didn't do it very smartly. But the reason they went into that, and this is something I observed as a teenager, was that the fact that that was their environment, right? The successful people they witnessed and observed were drug dealers or people who did fraud or that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
So then that's what they took in, and that's what their level of success was, perception-wise, was there. And then there I was befriending them, and trying to say like, hey, let's grind out, let's work hard, stack up, and do a business together. That I had this thing. I don't know what's wrong with me at the time. Like I had this thing of like, we need to do this together. Everyone needs to do this together. We need to grow and build as a team.
I'm the same. Yeah.
I don't know what it was though.
Yeah.
Right? It was really weird because how can I pour from an empty cup? Because I wasn't successful at the time anyway. So why was I so bothered? And my focus point being that as a friendship group, we need to do this. As a group, we need to do this. I didn't understand. However, the benefit of that whole social circle for those years was that I managed to tap into a different perception, and see, like you said, the limits that you put on yourself, So like these people, they didn't believe in themselves. They didn't realize that they could do anything else. That same energy they were putting into this bad stuff, that just has a life of looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
They could just put that same energy and drive and vision and level of drive for success into anything else.
Yep.
And they'll do just as well.
Yep. If not better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And it was a very, very interesting thing, to witness and to observe. And I think it's very valid point that you mentioned, like, there's your generation in particular will be slightly different, because it's, in a way, it's like a social media generation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not you in particular, because I know you're not like heavy on that socials, right?
Yeah.
But very much in terms of socials, there's very much, it was like growing up. There was social media there, smartphones there. For me and Cal, it was like we were on the border, end of secondary school, it was starting to come out.
Yeah.
So like for you guys, it would probably start of secondary school, end of primary school.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
While the generation after you,
They've already got it.
It's
crazy.
From early,
It's crazy.
And it's like, listen, I look at my daughter, madness.
Yeah.
She can work an iPhone for joke. Like literally, she'll be on my phone watching like YouTube videos of like Harry Potter or some stuff like that. Messages will come up from the Discord, swiping it away. And I'm like, listen, I need to see what they're saying. But yeah, like, listen, like we didn't get to tap into too much, but I feel like we just had a very good conversation.
Could go for hours, bro.
Listen, we're definitely going to come back to this. 100%.
No doubt.
But thank you for coming on.
Of course.
I'm going to have your links and everything in the bio, so people can come and reach you.
Of course.
I'm saying that like I'm a big influencer or something.
Nah, man, that's a big man like Riz. Come on. Big
Nah.
fool, man.
We're getting there. Like at the end of the day, look, the whole reason we do this, and I know the whole reason like you're part of the Vipers, because I know you're not bothered about in terms of, and I'm not bothered either, but I know 100% you're not bothered about in terms of like teaching or marketing as well. And that's why we got you.
Yeah.
Because we could easily go and find someone who wants to be a marketer and go hire them and all that, but that's not our vision, and you share that vision. All I'd say is like to finish up, any words of advice for traders or anything like that?
Oh, okay. So
or success as a whole.
Well, to start off, going off of the back of what you said, drug dealing is not worth it. Risk reward is not worth it.
It's true.
Otherwise, as traders and success in general, just to stay relevant to what I'm currently feeling, and there's a lot I could say, but just to stay relevant to what I'm currently feeling and not to be basic, I would say, do what you can to eliminate the fear of success, because it's a big thing. Grow yourself as a person to the point where you see yourself worthy as living the dream that you're dreaming. So when you are getting closer to that point, and when you are getting there, when you're it's becoming more of a reality, you don't subconsciously push it away because you're obsessed with the grind or because you're obsessed with working towards something. When it's there, when it's ready, when you're ready to accept it and go for it. So do what you can to eliminate the fear of success is something that I would definitely say.
Powerful. Dropping bars on them.
Come on.
Yeah, they're going to think like, keep talking.
Keep
talking. But yeah, no, thank you for that, Krish, honestly. And thank you for coming in. Just at the end of the day, you traveled in, and
Should be
I really
essays.
appreciate it. Yeah. Listen, this is more important.
No doubt, of course.
But appreciate everyone tuning in. Appreciate your time. And we'll catch you on the next episode.
Appreciate it. Cheers.
No worries.